I was misdiagnosed with bipolar disorder and OCD at the age of 17 in 1996, and then proceeded to spend the next 30 years of my life with that misdiagnosis until this year at 46, when I received a correct diagnosis of autism and ADHD. Hi, my name is Heather. If you've not met me before, you're new to the channel, welcome. I am a late diagnosed autistic and ADHD human being, and this is my story of misdiagnosis and how that has affected my life greatly. I received the diagnosis of bipolar disorder and OCD after attempting to unalive myself at the age of 17, and this diagnosis was handed to me in an emergency room from an ER doctor as I had a tube shoved up my nose and down my throat, pumping charcoal into my stomach to make me release the pills that I had taken. The reason I got the OCD added on was because at the time that I attempted this unaliving, I was working at a video store, if you remember what those are, and I decided, as I had taken all of these pills, to rearrange the entire store and alphabetize it. If you remember, they were organized by sections, types of videos, and I decided to undo all that and do it in my own way. And I guess that was my last desperate attempt to grasp control of the situation and myself. So after 15 minutes of speaking to me, this doctor decided that this was the label I should wear for the rest of my life, and I did, and it was pretty awful. Now, I'm not the only person in this world who was misdiagnosed bipolar. It happens a lot, and it happened a lot in the 90s and the early 2000s when anyone showed up with any kind of over-emotionality, which heightened emotions and emotional sensitivity is a huge part of both ADHD and autism. But living with this diagnosis for 30 years meant that I got the wrong treatment. I got loaded with medications. I spent almost a decade trying different medications, everything from Prozac, Wellbutrin, to lithium, antipsychotics, things of that nature. None of them helped. The only thing any of them would ever do is maybe blunt some of the emotions, which I guess in a doctor's perspective was helping, but was not really helping with any of the actual issues that I had, because those issues were caused by a neurodivergent brain. They were caused by different ways of processing and experiencing the world, not bipolar disorder. And even because I research everything, when I researched the disorder over the years, over the course of my lifetime, I never felt like it fit, because I didn't have extended periods of mania or extended periods of depression. My mood could change from one heightened state to another very easily and multiple times throughout a day. And that is not a typical definition of bipolar disorder. It affected the way I viewed myself. It affected the way other people viewed me. I viewed myself as broken and flawed, and that there was nothing I could really do to fix myself, but God knows I tried for 30 years, over and over again. I was my longest DIY project. A fixer-upper to be corrected and taken care of and make all that go away, make the crazy stop. But the crazy didn't stop. And it was because I was never crazy, and neither is anybody that has bipolar disorder or any disorder. You're not crazy, you're not broken, and you're not flawed. But learning that the reason that I had these heightened emotions and the reason that I felt the way I did all the time was because of a difference in processing and a difference in the way that I thought and the way that I experienced the world has made a huge difference in the way that I view myself. Many of us from Gen X or older millennials grew up with this same kind of mislabeling, and it is very harmful. It's harmful physically because you are struggling and taking these medications that are actually probably doing you more harm than good. People with autism have differential experiences with medications and are often do not react in the way that the medication is intended. but doctors don't understand that. And in my experience, the doctors that I dealt with very rarely asked about my experiences with the medications. They would either just up the dosage or change it completely, which left me in a cycle of constantly being even more up and down than I should have been, and just feeling completely out of my own control. I will say that this incorrect diagnosis did lead me to research and discover many ways to help regulate myself and to try to tame my brain and my way of thinking, which sometimes was very helpful and sometimes was not. 30 years, though. 30 years. That's more than some people that will be watching this video have even been alive. And I spent that entire time thinking I had one thing when I really was something else. And that it's done a number on me. And when I did get my diagnosis of autism and ADHD this year, I did have a couple of comments from people that know me that, wow, that really changes things for me too. Because as I mentioned, they saw me differently because they thought I had bipolar disorder and OCD. And I think societally, people are a little less understanding of those disorders. And that's unfortunate. And I think it does equate to crazy in a lot of people's minds. And that is also unfortunate. But guess what? I'm not crazy. And I'm not broken, and I don't need to be fixed. And that's something that I'm still learning to process and to deal with. 30 years is a long time to see yourself in a certain light, and then to have the filter on that light changed and see yourself differently. It makes a big difference. So to anyone out there who was misdiagnosed and missed a diagnosis of autism or ADHD, I feel you. I encourage you to change the way that you see yourself and the way that you live your life, because one of the things that has helped me the most since understanding fundamentally now who I am and that it's not a disorder and there's nothing wrong and nothing that needs to be fixed is to make accommodations for myself. And you don't have to get a diagnosis to start making accommodations for yourself. Learning your sensory profile, learning how you need to operate in this world to feel safe and okay and happy and fulfilled. That's the things you get to start exploring when you realize that your brain just functions differently. And like I said, you don't have to have a doctor to tell you that that is the case. As my story proves, they don't always know best anyway. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've enjoyed it, I'd appreciate your interaction or subscribing. And we'll talk more later. Love you, bye.